I refuse to take a single penny from the Diddy documentary. Even though I invested $5 million into it and poured 20 years of my life into it, I never intended to make money off it. You've all forgotten how many people over the years tried to challenge Diddy but were suppressed, destroyed, or even lost their lives. As a public figure, I feel it's my responsibility to tell the truth. If this were really just about a little money, who would willingly open their door every day to funeral flowers, check their phone to see threatening messages, and risk losing their life or family? Clearly, this is not a good business deal. Many people told me, forget it, you can't mess with Diddy. But I knew in my heart that precisely because no one else would touch it, someone had to. Biggie's fearful look after Tupac's death, you see it once and, you can never pretend nothing happened. I'm not a saint and I don't want to be a hero. I've just been watching these things happen for too long, so long that if I didn't step up.
And it was hard. There were a lot of things I seen.
Puff was S.A.ing him, assaulting him, sodomizing him, doing all kind of things to him. I first thought but hold up, they was lovers or they was...
When 50 Cent released his latest documentary, it didn't recycle rumors. It reframed history. What had long been dismissed as industry gossip was suddenly presented as a connected pattern involving power, silence, and influence. The documentary positioned Diddy not just as a mogul, but as a gatekeeper whose reach shaped careers and consequences alike. And the first uncomfortable question emerges: why did it take so long for this story to be told this clearly?
As a result of being around that man, Sean Puffy Combs, I don't sleep to this day. I have a problem sleeping to this day. I got it from him. I was 13 years old. And being 13, having that type of exposure, it was cool to go to Howard Homecoming with Puff. It was great to be able to go to Club USA or the Supper Club, with Puffy in that time, or the Tunnel. But these are places that a 13-year-old probably should not be. Most kids would be excited about it. Most kids are trying to figure out, how to be around, hot girls, pretty girls. I'm around grown women, and I'm seeing them do things and have experiences that I'm not quite ready for, and I think that he was just trying to show me the lifestyle. However, that's not what I was there for. I was there because I wanted a career, man. So we would fight, we would tussle. More than often, I think Puffy would say, man, you gotta chill. You're just a little bit too intense. You gotta relax. Yo, man, I'm here to work, man. I ain't sang in a week.
To New York City. And I lived with Sean Puffy Combs for a year.
That's the crazy thing. Now, that was L.A. Reid's idea, right? We're sending you over to something called Puffy Flavor Camp.
There you go.
To learn
Flavor Camp.
Yeah,
Flavor
that's
Camp.
what it was called. And you're going to go to Puff Daddy's. He's going
In the 90s. Do you understand what that's like?
Puffy's place was just filled with chicks and orgying nonstop, right?
No, not really. I mean, but hey, it was curious. I got a chance to see some things.
Yeah, but you were 13. What were you seeing?
I went there to see the lifestyle.
Right.
And I saw it. And it was but I don't know if I could indulge and understand what I was even...
Usher's story begins with opportunity but quickly reveals imbalance, entering a world far older and more complex than his age allowed. Promised guidance, he instead learned how power operates behind closed doors. His rise came with exposure that blurred the line between mentorship and control. And the lingering reflection remains: when success comes early, who protects the child behind the talent?
Think of you of starting a party at midnight. What time will it go till?
That's a different type of party, though.
Looking at this lawsuit, right, Lil Rod, he alleges that, Diddy told him personally that he had sex with Usher. And when you look at the lawsuit, even though they got Usher's name redacted, you could tell who it is because they described him as the guy that performed at the Super Bowl.
Right.
So, we all know who that is, but how you feel about that, man?
Well, I mentioned that earlier, that he said about Stevie J. The Usher part, that's a touchy situation, man. You know what I'm saying? Because I had a certain feeling and I felt a certain way when Usher got on Shay Shay, and I don't mean to mention other people's platforms, but he got on Shay Shay and he mentioned how great and how good Puff taught him and everything. You know what I'm saying? About the business, right? I know, and people know, that was around in that time that Puff and Usher did have a situation. And that situation led Usher to the hospital. Now I let Usher explain that to y'all. I let Usher tell that story. But how dare you say a man that groomed you, you gonna give him a pass? Bruh, you know I know. Let me reframe you on something. Remember Usher? We was at the Swiss Hotel. Puff had Kim in the room. Had one of Keith Sweat's baby mothers in the big room outside the master bedroom. He came outside in his robe. She gave him a fellatio right there. His back was turned to me. She gave him a fellatio. You knocked on the door. I came and opened the door for you. Puff went in the room. You came in the room and kissed that girl dead in her mouth. Now I'm telling that because you taking up for somebody that you know and a lot of more people know didn't do you right when you was at Diddy camp. Y'all put it together.
And what you mean by Diddy camp?
Remember? He was on one of the talk shows. The white guy with the curly hair. What's his name? The white guy with the curly hair. And he said, yo, would you send your son to Diddy camp? And Usher said, no. Ask him why he won't send him to Diddy camp. But yet and still you praise him.
Damn, man, and you said that, I know you can't go into detail, but you said that it was a situation where Diddy sent him to the hospital?
Let Usher explain that to you. Let Usher mama explain that to you. And the hospital was in Scarsdale, New York.
As Usher's career accelerated, so did expectations of loyalty and discretion. In the documentary, silence is framed not as choice, but as currency, exchanged for access and protection. Speaking out was never encouraged, endurance was. And the tension grows clearer. How many artists stay quiet because survival depends on it?
We intend to name people in these lawsuits. We're not going to do it in interviews. We're not going to do it, without doing our due diligence, because obviously, these types of allegations are very hurtful to people if they're not true, and very hurtful, frankly, if they are true. But if they're true, you shouldn't have been in the room and you shouldn't have been participating. So I anticipate that we're going to start filing lawsuits, and it may not be big names at first, but we have a long list of names. And you might imagine in situations like this, that when a victim tells us that this person was in the room or this person participated, we want to do as much due diligence as humanly possible before we file that case. Because in the United States, in almost every state, public filings are in fact public. And, when you name somebody in a lawsuit, the press is going to pick it up, and we're aware of that. So we're going to make sure that we dot our I's and cross our T's. And I expect that there will be some people named in these lawsuits that will raise some eyebrows.
Do you think that's what he's going to think too? Wow, that's me. Look how badass I am.
I think he's gonna say this is the best documentary I've seen in a long time.
And look at her lap. She's like, yeah, he's that narcissistic.
So you'll see people saying that. I mean, he may feel a different way about pieces and bits of it, but he knows the truth. I think he'll see the truth in it.
Woo! There it is. Tomorrow, the Diddy documentary, The Reckoning. I got to say, I'm curious. They've intrigued me. This is a case that I feel like I'm sort of over it. He lost. He keeps getting himself in trouble in jail. Like, I'm a changed man. No, you're not. No, you're not. Even this past Thanksgiving, he's sucking up to all the fellow inmates as he organized a Thanksgiving dinner for 1,000 people. Everything he does is to benefit himself. But in the most narcissistic, dangerous type of way. And he's getting caught doing more and more stuff that's keeping his time longer and longer in prison. Stuff he said he wouldn't do. But that's what this man's always done, is lied. Cassie's a liar. Cassie's a liar. She's ruining my reputation. And then the footage comes out. I'm deeply, blah, 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 blah. I'm so sick of this guy. The fact that he thought it was wise to be filming himself, literally after the raid, that just shows this guy really considered he was too big to fail. And that's a motto I've learned in this industry. No one is too big to fail. No one. Everyone who's ever fallen, go look, think about it. Everybody has fallen. They get back up, or sometimes don't fall as far down, but nobody is too big to fall.
The documentary describes an ecosystem where proximity to power demanded compliance. Parties, meetings, and private gatherings were not just social. They were tests of loyalty. Boundaries were implied, not explained. And the question sharpens: in environments like this, can consent truly exist without consequence?
How do you feel about this lawsuit that Kirk Burrows got against Puffy?
Well, what I told you was, and you are a witness to this, I said back in the day, people used to think that Kirk Burrows and Diddy was lovers, or they had some kind of relationship like that. Remember I told you that? And you was like,
I remember that. You told me that years ago.
Yeah, and you said to me, yo, you gonna speak about it? I said, nah, I ain't gonna speak about it, bruh. You understand? I'm gonna wait till he speak about it. So people who had known that, I always knew that, because I used to follow Puff to Kirk house when we had the building and the red zone, and we used to take the money from those clubs and we had to drop it off at Kirk house. So we wasn't dropping, he would, he was staying there. You spending the night at another house and you got a apartment with your girl somewhere else? Okay. So when I seen in the lawsuit that he said that Kirk said that Puff was SAing him, assaulting him, sodomizing him, doing all kind of things to him, I first thought like, but hold up, they was lovers, or they was, but that's his boss. So maybe the boss cannot have sex people, the CEO can't have people that work for them. And that's why it becomes illegal. I don't know, bro. It's the law. The law is funny. But when I seen the lawsuit and seen all the stuff that was happening and all the things that Kirk was saying, it was things that people knew. A lot of people knew that they were doing something. They were even saying that people were caught. You understand? They were saying that people was even caught. So, the people were saying that they were caught in the office doing that at one time. Let me get that straight. They were saying that people were around that worked for Bad Boy was saying that they were caught in the office in some uncompromising positions. So it wasn't nothing new, but there's a lot of things that he had said in that lawsuit, and that.
By connecting Usher's early experience to later artists, the documentary exposes a repeating cycle. Youth is marketed, monitored, and monetized, while emotional cost is ignored. What looks like fame from the outside often feels like pressure from within. And the troubling thought remains: does the industry ever slow down long enough to protect its youngest stars?
Make a lot of people upset, but then a lot of people love my opinion. That's why you bring me on here. And I really appreciate that, brother. I just want to say this before we get started, Art, is that, a lot of people think I came here to bring a black man down. And that's what I hear in the comments a whole lot. But it was nothing like that. A black man didn't cuss a dead man's mother out. A black man didn't set his friends up and put them in a situation where they couldn't come home to their families no more. A black man didn't reach back and help the people that helped them make it up the ladder. It was Puffy. You understand? I got tired of Puffy going on different platforms talking about how he loved the people that we was all with, how he loved the people that helped him, when in fact, none of that stuff was true. So my whole thing about it is, man, I appreciate your platform for letting me, voice my opinion. And like I said, opinions like an asshole. Some of these cats out here get paid for their asshole. I get paid to give my opinion.
Yeah, I feel you, man. I mean, yeah, you just on here giving your opinion, man. I mean, you was one of the people that was real close to the situation, so why not?
Thank you, I appreciate that.
So with that being said, right, the last interview me and you did was a day after the raid. And when you look at everything now, man, how you feel about everything? It's been like a week, you know, you knowing Diddy, you being around Diddy. Could you ever imagine that his houses would get raided for sex trafficking?
Bruh, you can't imagine no stuff like that. You understand? You can't think that because back then, he wasn't Brother Love. He was Puffy. All the way up until he became Diddy. So his behavior over the years has changed. And the behavior that he shows now and that he has shown by being Brother Love, I couldn't imagine that the police could be raiding him for sex trafficking? Nah, bruh. I couldn't imagine that. You know what I'm saying? That wasn't him back then. He's a totally different person that he became. If you've seen him on other platforms, you know, inviting men to party with him, inviting men to go shopping with him. You understand? That wasn't Puffy. That wasn't Diddy. That was Brother Love and Love.
How you feel about all the people that's wondering why haven't any of Diddy big name friends came out to defend him?
Because either two things that I believe. Either they know some of the stuff is true, either they took part in some of the stuff that happened, or they scared that it may mess up their brand. See, nobody wants to be in contact with anybody that allegedly trafficking. You see what the WWF did to Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon was one of those people that was called for trafficking. We don't hear a lot about it because he gave up the company, he did what he was supposed to do, and he became Ghost.
The documentary suggests that not all damage is visible and not all trauma becomes public. Behavioral changes, struggles, and distance are reframed as possible responses to experiences never fully acknowledged. Silence here is portrayed as both shield and prison. And the unanswered question persists: how much truth is buried simply because it was never allowed to surface?
First time you met Justin Bieber, this kid comes up to you. He's not Justin Bieber yet, he's just some kid. And he says, I want to sing for you.
It was at the studio of Jermaine Dupri's. I said, you know, why don't you set up a meeting between me and your manager? I'd love to meet with you and do this in a formal setting. I'm late for an appointment with Jermaine Dupri,
right?
And I don't want to keep him waiting. Let's just do this the right way.
What's up, man? You good?
I'm good. How are you?
All right, young brother, everything's good?
Everything's
Selling
great.
out arenas and everything? Starting to act different, huh?
No,
you ain't been calling me and hanging out the way we used to hang out.
Well, I mean, you try to get in contact with me, you know, through all my, partners and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But you never really got my number, so.
Right. Okay.
My number?
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you my number.
As scrutiny increases, the documentary highlights how power delays accountability. Influence reshapes narratives, redirects blame, and questions credibility. But time weakens even the strongest shields. And the growing tension asks, when power finally fades, does truth arrive all at once or piece by piece?
Yeah, so as soon as you turn 16, you know what I'm saying, I'm gonna let you rock this every time you come to LA. Yeah, it's gonna be yours. So every time you come to LA, it's a little dusty, but you know, put the front shot in.
Man.
And then out. Minute.
Woo. Okay.
Okay.
All right, so I'm gonna be driving this next year.
Yeah, when you get 16, you come down there, you gotta, Wear your seat.
I mean, I'm 15. You could ride in the passenger seat. I got my permit. Not yet.
No.
All right, 16.
You're not ready.
16.
Let's slow down. Let's slow down, Justin.
Okay.
Let's slow down. Okay.
One step at a time.
But yeah, the keys is yours. When when you get 16, you're good to go.
I'm good to go.
Yeah.
All right.
Then when you get 18, you get the house. You get the mansion.
Okay. I get the mansion.
Yeah.
So where are we off to now?
Where would you like to go?
I mean, wherever you want to go. Where are we going?
So check this out, yo. Justin, you ever seen the movie 48 Hours? Right now, he's having 48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives, like where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream. I have been given custody of him. He signed to Usher.
I'm signed to Usher.
I had legal guardianship of Usher when he did his first album. I did Usher's first album. I don't have legal guardianship of him, but for the next 48 hours, he's with me. So and we gonna go full crazy.
I'm going crazy.
Crazy.
I'm taking this out tonight.
What you wanna do? What you wanna do over the next 48 hours?
48 hours. Let's go. Let's just go get some girls. Let's go hang with some girls.
A man after my heart. That's what I'm talking about, kid.
50 Cent positions himself not as an outsider, but as someone no longer willing to play by industry rules. His documentary frames silence as complicity and exposure as responsibility. Timing, he implies, matters as much as courage. And the question lands heavy. What changed now that made the story unavoidable?
It's clear cry for help that Justin Bieber has posted. And he's been posting a lot of things that you've heard fans that they're very alarmed and they think that he needs to get help. But this one there's nothing cryptic about it. Justin posted a message to everyone who's concerned about him, I guess. He said, "People keep telling me to heal. Don't you think if I could have fixed myself, I would have already? I know I'm broken. I know I have anger issues. I tried to do the work my whole life to be like the people who told me I needed to be fixed like them. And it just keeps making me more tired and more angry."
I think that is so interesting because what I think he's saying, and look, we spent a lot of time on a new documentary that's on YouTube now called
What Happened to Justin Bieber?
What Happened to Justin Bieber. And, my view of this, after especially talking with people in his world, people on his side, is that Justin has had these mental issues for a long, long time that he's been struggling with. And there's nothing worse than if you're really going through something and then people tell you, oh, you've got a wife, you've got a kid, you've got a career.
Your life is great.
Your life is great.
Just get over whatever it is.
You can't say that to somebody who's going through it. It becomes enraging because it's almost like they just slammed the door shut on what you're feeling. And that's really destructive, and it feels like he's just had it.
And you hear him referring to the anger issues, which we saw started flaring up last week when he was leaving dinner out in Malibu, had a 4-minute angry conversation with the paparazzi and said that they shouldn't be there. And then we saw a little more anger on Father's Day.
Yeah, and Coachella, remember that he had several incidents
back
there.
To Coachella, and then on Father's Day, his post was not a warm, fuzzy Father's Day message. He said, "I'm a dad that's not to be bleeped with." And there was a middle finger emoji added to the photo.
Yeah, and there were several other posts that he did. He had taken some screen grabs of a conversation he had with an unknown person who presumably reached out to Justin to try to be like, hey, I'm worried, whatever. And Justin's response really was him lashing out saying, you, I'm blocking you. Like, he was not here for any kind of, for anyone reaching out or anyone with advice. But another thing too, Charles, you had mentioned that, yesterday was Father's Day, was posting a lot. Well, guess who didn't post Justin? His wife, Haley. They have a son together, 9 months old. His name is Jack Blues. It's Justin's first Father's Day. Haley didn't post any kind of tribute to him, which I know sounds silly in like an everyday world.
Yeah, no, it doesn't, because
when
it's
you
his
are a celebrity,
first Father's Day, yeah.
Yeah, people
Reactions across the industry are measured, cautious, and incomplete. Statements avoid specifics, names go unmentioned, and distance becomes strategy. Yet avoidance itself becomes telling. And the reflection deepens when everyone speaks carefully. What is being protected?
Back in Harlem, I heard it from some music executives back in Harlem. And I'm not going to speak on their name. They doing programs and everything like that, and they may be doing something, they may speak on it themselves. But I heard it from some music executives.
What did you hear?
Bro, you know how people be talking, and we was around some people, something like that, and then some people might say, yo, I don't F with that dude. And at the time, I didn't even know who the F Usher was. You know what I'm saying? It was one of those type of situations. And when probably say, yo, man, I don't F with them niggas, man. I'm getting out that industry and everything like that. Puff sent this little kid to the hospital. How he sent him to the hospital? Man, nigga was bleeding from the butt. And that's what was said. But I didn't even have a name for the kid at the time. Then you hear it, and that's what happened. And that's just, that's something that you heard. You don't know if it's true, you just heard it. So, and just to hear this, and this new thing where they saying that they got kids coming forward and said that he did that, man, that shit is crazy. And like I just said, that's just something that I heard. It's something that I didn't know. It's something that I ain't see. A lot of people want to, because Gene Deal has spoken on certain things that I've heard, I have spoken on it. But then they were just trying to say, I know. No, I'm not scared to say what I heard. And if there's any truth to it, then it's truth to it. Let them find it. Things that I've saw or things that I've witnessed and been a part of, I've said it. I'm not afraid to say what I saw or what I didn't see. A lot of people want to make up shit. I don't make up things. When I say Puff go in the room with two girls, you understand, and another guy and a rapper, and then all of a sudden they cousin try to go in the room, I throw them up against the piano, they run out the room with grabbing towels and they still had two girls in the room. But people want to make up a lot of bullshit and say what they want to say and flip it the way they want to flip it. I tell it like it is. But you got these guys, you got these people out here, man, you know what I'm saying? All this shit is for entertainment, man. Some people want the truth, some people speak the truth. Some people don't even know the fucking truth, it has smacked them dead in the fucking face, brother. But I tell you one thing, it's from my mouth to God's ear. And all these clowns can say whatever they want to say. Like I'm just saying, he lived a rock and roll lifestyle when I was with him, bro. I don't know about his addiction and stuff like that. He was a totally different person, bro. When I try to tell people that, they don't understand that. He was probably doing some of the little snake shit, doing some things and stuff like that, but the magnitude and what he was doing with the freak off parties and all like that, I didn't experience that with him. That was not my experience with Diddy or Puffy or Puff Daddy. That wasn't my experience with him.
And you had no idea who Usher was when you heard about him?
I didn't know who Usher was at the time. It's all gonna come out some kind of way, bro. All this is God's, this is something that was put in place, and it was designed by God, brother, for all this to happen and go down like this.
The documentary does not claim closure, it opens doors. Stories remain untold, voices unheard, and accountability unfinished. What is surfaced may only be the beginning. And the final question lingers. If this much truth has already come out, how much more is still waiting? This documentary does more than revisit the past. It challenges how the industry operates in the present. Usher's story gains new context, Diddy's legacy faces new scrutiny, and 50 Cent forces a conversation many avoided. And as silence weakens, one reality becomes clear. Once the untold truth is revealed, it can never be unseen.